Mike, how's it going, man?
Great to see you, Jack. What a week we got.
So, I mean, you look at this, this comes as no surprise, right? You know, the 42% are openly saying that they are going to resist President Trump of federal government managers in this RMG research survey that's come out. And keep in mind, that's just the people who are publicly acknowledging it, right? I'm sure that number bounces up to probably, I don't know, 80, 90% when really push comes to shove. Benz, let's talk past the sale here, right? What should the American people and what should this movement really be on the lookout for as we go boots on the ground into Washington, D.C., and President Trump's advance teams begin arriving?
Well, every single person who expresses an intent to resist the edicts and authorities duly granted to the executive branch should be promptly and immediately fired. And if firing them is not possible because of bureaucratic protections, they should be transferred to the Siberia office of whatever organization within the federal government they are a part of, so that they can be...
Wait, Benz, hold on a second. Don't you mean Greenland office?
No, the Greenland office will actually be doing something. At least that serves some Greenland, strategic
far
utility. The great mistake of Trump 1.0 was basically, not heeding the parable of the snake and the frog, that you let these people in, you let them keep their jobs despite, all of their attempts to sabotage the government from within. I think this time around, there have been many lessons learned. I think part of the mission of DOGE is to cut government programs that have gone rogue. I'm extremely heartened by the fact that we killed the budget the first time around during that omnibus fight in November. And that was done because rogue organizations like the Global Engagement Center were getting reauthorized when everyone knows all 250 members of the staff there are diametrically opposed to the Trump agenda that was voted democratically by the people of the United States. And so we literally shut down the budget during that fight until a new one came out that refused to reauthorize that. That should be done. That mentality needs to go into the Pentagon, needs to go into DHS, needs to go into FBI, needs to go into the National Science Foundation, needs to go into USAID. We have to have a strong hand this time around, because that's the only way business gets done in Washington. This is the point that I was making about the failure of Trump 1.0 under a kind of suicidal libertarian pact to be hands off with Facebook as they were censoring the world. And so meanwhile, the censors who are willing to use government power, who are willing to use government resources and government action to pressure towards censorship, there was no counter pressure. There was no government pressure on the other side of it. And we saw the power of that once it was applied. Once Congress did act against the Disinformation Governance Board, once Congress did act with the Weaponization Committee, subpoenaing 10 different government agencies and holding hearings and hauling everyone in for transcribed interviews, pressure works. Action works. And action has to be taken against members of the resistance within the government. They can resist all they like in a civil society group with a cute little fellowship or sinecure outside the government. But if you're a part of this executive branch, you follow the chain of command, which goes straight to President Donald J. Trump.
I've got a great idea. Listener Wuhan Clan just shot this in the comments. I think this is wonderful. How about we mandate that in every federal office, every single worker has to start the day with a public Pledge of Allegiance. You have to get up and you have to say the Pledge of Allegiance, just like elementary school. By the way, I would have been totally fine with that. I'm sure you would have been totally fine with that, Benz, when you were in the State Department. But I'll tell you one thing, 30% of people would walk out the door on day one if that were mandated. At least 30%. And over the first year, look, you would drain the swamp all by itself.
It's like sunlight to a vampire, having to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in the federal government for so many of these people. I mean, It's they take a pledge to self-interest, and then they call themselves global citizens, arguing that being faithful to the United States, who they're only in office to serve, is some sort of treason to the world. And of course, this is not some humanitarian bona fide that they're earning by doing this. It's their own paychecks and salaries to all the different organizations and stakeholders on the outside of government who want to use the battering ram of government to achieve their own financial gain. So let them do that on the outside. But the people voted for reform. The people voted to take a sledgehammer to these rogue agencies. And people on the inside who are not going to carry that hammer can get hammered by it, frankly.
Look, it's simple. And by the way, this is something that the President Trump's first administration, the 45th administration, actually worked on, something called Schedule F. Benz, explain to us what Schedule F is, how that works, and how actually that can be implemented pretty much day one.
Well, Schedule F is basically a creative tool to be able to bypass many of the bureaucratic measures that can be taken to delay or postpone the ability to fire members of the civil service or foreign service, the so-called careers. You know, the president only gets to appoint several thousand people for positions in the federal government. There are millions of people in the aggregate, if you include the Pentagon, but hundreds of thousands across all the other agencies. And so the president's appointments are totally swamped and outnumbered in the thicket of the D.C. bureaucracy. And in the same way that oftentimes a corporation will structure things as a layoff rather than firing one-off people in order to avoid employment lawsuits against people. If you just terminate one person, and it's a firing, then you can get into a big employment dispute about whether or not it satisfied the for-cause component of a firing. It can drag out for years in litigation while the person continues to have their job or have some aspect of their job that they still have as it's being adjudicated. And so, mass layoffs can alleviate that if you simply get rid of an entire division, or if you group a whole group of people together. You can bypass a lot of the legal, ninja capacities of employment lawyers. And it's the same thing with Schedule F. It's basically a mass firing of the civil service spots. And this is basically what Project 2025 opposition was all about. I mean, they talked about how it was about, fascism and, bringing back all these traditionalist ideals. That is not what the blob had a problem with. It all came down to the fact that Project 2025 was pushing Schedule F.
It is a power struggle for who has direct control over the levers of power, and Schedule F takes away the blob protections. All right, so one piece of news that I saw this morning that I thought was wonderful. The good news just doesn't stop coming. Washington Post is down 87% in terms of its traffic since 2021. So from 2021 to now, the Washington Post is down nearly 90% of its traffic, its audience gone. And by the way, that's the libs. Okay, those guys are just checked out. So the Washington Post is dying, and they have either booted or exited. We're trying to find the right term on this. Jen Rubin. However, it turns out that Jen Rubin is going to be going to a new spot. Benz, break down what the latest plan is for our resident TDS color revolution lover, Jen Rubin.
Oh, it's too perfect. Honestly, I don't care what your religion is, whether you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or some strange esoteric thing, whatever you wish for. I can't imagine a better gift to start the year than Norm Eisen and Jen Rubin announcing that they are starting a media outlet. They're calling this the Contrarian. That will be the name of this outlet. And they say that Norm Eisen is going to be the publisher. Jen Rubin is going to be the editor-in-chief. They said they've recruited about 24 contributors who played prominent roles in debunking 2020 election denialism. And the purpose of this is because America needs an unshackled media. Now, mind you, these are the people who were coordinating the censorship industry. These people who were so-called debunking election denialism. They censored the ever-loving heck out of every news outlet. They put pressure on the social media companies. They applied government pressure. And it was all because there was an unshackled media. Their problem is that they need shackles on the media, and they need a media perch to trumpet from the heavens the consensus of the resistance. So the thing that I love about this so much is this will give us a bird's eye view of the resistance's plans every step of the way for the next 4 years. Norm Eisen was the legal hatchet man. Every single one of their ops was run through Norm Eisen, who was a guy who was the former State Department ambassador to the Czech Republic from 2011 to 2014, which was right as China effectively took over the Czech Republic. Norm Eisen was the lawfare coordinator there. He bragged about how one of the proudest things that he did as the U.S. ambassador to the Czech Republic was effectively pressure the Czech Republic to arrest the State Department's enemies. He was so emboldened by that when Trump won the 2016 election, he applied that same set of skills to coordinating the lawfare against Donald Trump. He has been a part of every major political black ops happening in the United States for the past 6 to 8 years.
This guy,
and now he's going to have a media outlet. And there's this great clip here of him and Jen Rubin announcing it. And just look at how cheesy this thing is. It's fondue.
This guy, he's the granddaddy of the color revolutions, and I guess she's the grandmama of the color revolutions. Let's play the clip.
Do politics, we're going to do law, but we know that any successful pro-democracy movement also has to be very vocal about culture. We'll have a humor column. We'll even have a cooking column, but we're going to sprinkle in a little bit of pro-democracy flavor.
We're
Wow!
gonna have a humor column. We're gonna
ruin everything. We're gonna run after. We're the Contrarians. We're, even though you're propaganda. No, this what we're living through. Look, there was a Politico asked me over the weekend. They said, why are you guys calling your thing the Coronation Ball? Why are you? And I'm not like, I didn't come up with the name, but I said, look, I didn't come up with the name for that. I did come up with the name for the Deplore Ball back in 16, 17, but. Coronation Ball is appropriate. And they say, oh, appropriate. You're authoritarian. You're talking about monarchy. You got Curtis Yarvin there. All that. No. It's appropriate because it's a regime change. Because that's the old regime. Just look at them. They realize that they are out of power and they have no idea what to do. And you can see the cognitive dissonance in that clip. Guys, can you show the clip? Just leave us up, but show us the still of that clip where you could just see it in their faces where they're trying desperately to hold it together, and they're like, everything is fine, everything is good, this is a great move, things are going well for us, 90% of our readership is down, but we're holding on for dear life.
And this idea that they're going to, galvanize people against Trump through cooking, through a cooking column and a humor column. I mean, this reminds me of, in the there was this busted British intelligence operation called the Integrity Initiative that operated from 2015 to 2019. Then it went down in flames when all their leaked documents came out. And it turned out the whole thing was being dictated by British intelligence. They set up these cluster cells in every major NATO country to coordinate internet censorship. And in the documents, the orientation materials trained all the cluster cell members on the importance of waging this culture war through humor, and they gave them reading materials like the EU can't meme, and how subversive humor and ridicule can undermine political support for authoritarians in authoritarian countries. And these people are constitutionally incapable of humor. They exist as this frumpy, damp rag to place over the human soul. They put in their instruction manuals all these, like humor guides, because they are incapable of organically generating it themselves. So this is going to be a content nirvana. This is like manna from the heavens being handed to us so that we have a 360-degree peripheral vision of everything they're going to do 6 months before they do it, while also being able to elbow through the rim dunk on just how cringe it is the whole time. So I don't know that I could have woken up to better news than this morning.
It's just with their charisma. I really got to watch out here on Human Events Daily. I don't know, or certainly hope they don't do anything in the 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. hour. They might be putting me out of business with their cooking and their. I mean, just look at the chemistry of the two of them there. I mean, just I will say this. I can't stop looking at it. I can't stop watching it. That's for sure.
Jack, 95% of their traffic will be us. Like, they actually
really
may have a
watching.
moderately successful, medium-sized website just because we are going to be going there every day to see what stupid thing they publish next. And just to, it's like it's like an intelligence org reading some the propaganda rag of the Russian Federation or China Daily or something just to see what the state is publishing. Like, this is what we're going to be able to do with Norm Eisen and his whole network. Thank you for aggregating 24 different people in your network for this media organization to trumpet. I'm glad that they're doing it publicly. Before, we had to, trawl around for, 2-hour YouTube panels to find the diamond in the rough of what they're planning to do next. Now it's all going to be centralized. And frankly, I think we're going to be the largest audience rather than their own. I don't know that anybody other than the exiles from the State Department who formerly were reading The Diplomat are going to be reading The Contrarian. But I have my popcorn out, and I can't wait for their first issue.
I asked Grok to look up to write some anti-Trump name puns of the stuff that they could potentially be getting out there. Maybe some pecan resist ice cream. Maybe some orange man bad. Orange man bad. Maybe Trump-a-Tony. This is so bad. Grok really failed me on this one. Lobster mobster. Oh my gosh, it's so cringe they would actually do this.
I was going to say, I feel like I'm reading the Contrarian humor column.
This is so bad. It's this is the right humor column that they're going to be covering. I have to stop. This is terrible. This is just terrible. Oh wait, now it's asking if we want Biden ones. Okay, cup of Sleepy Joe. A cup of Sleepy Joe. There you go. That's hilarious. Caramel corn pop. Grandpa Joe's Werther's Originals. Delaware Undie Mud. Ice cream towers. F Joe Biden pepperoni pizza. Dark Brandon. That's for funny Joe Biden, by the way, FCC, and Dark Brandon's secret sauce. Well, there you go. I mean, it's Joe Biden's just funnier. It's just funnier. These people are ridiculous. They have no sense of humor. They have no charisma. They have no ideas. The lawfare, by the way, has been completely defeated and laughed out. And by the way, to the Republicans who thought that the lawfare was going to stop Donald Trump, I just you guys lost, right? You guys just lost. You didn't see through. You lost faith. You doubted. And that's why you now sit at the back of the bus. And some people aren't even on the bus. And, hey, we're all played the cards we're dealt. No one told you to do that. You could have stayed loyal. You could have stayed loyal to the country. You could have read the room. You could have stood with the American people. But instead, you decided to get greedy. And now look where you are. You flew a little bit too close to the sun. Mike Benz, I got to tell you, man, put it this way. Give us the last minute. Just tell people how important it is that in just 1 week, the boots are already on the ground. The advanced teams are here. 1 week's time from now, it's game time.
It is. This was, I think, the single most consequential election in American history. We came very close, if not for an incredible team that came together really over the summer. I mean, it came together last minute in 2024 with people like Elon Musk, with people like you and other media leaders, with the wonks, the autists, the anons. Everyone came together and created this incredible coalition that overcame the lawfare. And if this had gone the other way, Donald Trump could be spending the rest of his life in prison. And we could have had a prosecutor in chief who openly touted how the thing she learned early in her career is the power to basically kill people with a pen stroke, or to ruin their lives and bankrupt them, or disgrace them in their community.
Simple as that.
And we would have
Mike Benz. Mike Benz, we got to run. Where can people follow you, brother?
At Mike Benz Cyber on X.